Hi, welcome back to the GemHawks YouTube channel. I really appreciate your support here on YouTube and over on Facebook too. Today I want to show you a basic technique for creating your very own chandelier earring findings. One of the reasons that a lot of people get started in wire work is to have more creative control over the component parts that they're using. And one of the joys of being able to create your own chandelier earring findings is that you can then match in a quick pair of earrings to go with a statement necklace or something that you've crafted that's quite intricate in wire for another piece, say a neck piece or a pendant or even a cuff or something like that. You want to match that wire exactly, so this is a way that you can create a very professionally finished component that looks as though it could have been made for you, but you've actually created it from the bottom up. So as I say, I'm going to show you how to do the basic technique, and then at the end of the video I'll talk you through two different variations which uses the exact same technique, but you're just sort of taking it up a level with a couple of little swooshes along the way. So this is what we're looking to create today. I've done this particular piece in 1mm gauge silver plated copper wire and added some rainbow moonstones in 7mm rounds. This is one of the alternatives I'll show you at the end of the video, and this is another one with some beautiful sunstone in 8 and 10mm rounds. So I'll just pop these out of the way for the second, and we're going to show you how to create this piece. Now the component parts are 1mm gauge wire. You could take this down slightly if you wanted to, but you would then need to apply some pressure just to give that a little bit of work hardening, because they tend to sort of dangle around, get caught on things. If it's very fine, then you might struggle with keeping that in shape. So 1mm is the gauge I'd suggest. For our basic design, I'm using just 3 beads, and for some of the other designs you can up that to 4 and 5 respectively. So I have got really quite a short piece of 1mm gauge wire just here, and I'm going to find the centre point and just apply some warmth through that to begin with. Now most of the work today is going to be done using my round nose pliers. These are very, very basic, inexpensive tools to get hold of. I'm going to find that approximate centre point, and I'm quite close to the tip of the pliers but not all the way down, and I'm going to cause that to cross over. Remove the pliers, have a look at my loop. I can see that this side is slightly longer, so I'm just going to draw that all the way around. And we're not looking for a flat line, we are looking for that to create a V formation. And if that's not quite low enough for you, then you can just edit that slightly. So again, adding a little bit of gentle heat and warmth into the wire, we're then going to add the corner segments. So I'm just going to draw the tail all the way around and back up at an angle. Now if you're making these in pairs, you will want to have them together so you can judge that that size is indeed correct. If I was making this as a pair, I'd want to open that out slightly and then draw the end up a little bit more so that the size was correct. Flip the design over and come to the other side. Grip close to the end again. If you can remember whereabouts you were on your pliers, then you'll get the same sort of little loop at the bottom from which we will dangle our gemstones. So I'm just going to return that ever so slightly and draw that up to the centre. Again, you can edit that in little fine manoeuvres if you need to. So what we would then do is just check that they were the same sort of size. So this one's gone much larger on the end. So I'm just going to flip that over and start drawing that around, and then bring the wire back up above that central point. If you imagine that this loop is the centre and it's got a 12 o'clock line coming away, we want the wires to transect with one another above that central bottom loop. So you can tighten that up if you need to. You can even switch over to some flat facing pliers, give that a really good grip, and then draw the wire so that they meet in the centre. Just going to tighten that one up as well, hold the wire firmly, and then pull that across so that it meets in the middle. Now that's gone slightly out of shape, so I'm just going to edit that manually and just push that until it sits how I want it to sit. So I would then just size them up and see if they are similarly in position. Slightly larger, but I'm not going to overly worry. What you would need to do is just tighten that up slightly by rolling the wire around and then drawing that so that it meets at the top. So the next thing we're going to do is decide that we're going to make an exact replica so that these will match perfectly one on top of the other. So I just need to look at the angles of those two wires that are coming from each side, and you could, if you really wanted to, use a piece of paper and some measurements and ensure that that is 100% accurate to the millimetre, but I'm going to go by eye. We're just going to wing it slightly. So back down to the board, I'm going to have a look at these two, and you can see that these are crossing over a little bit further up, so I need to bring that down slightly. So again, you can just hold on to that wire until that sits exactly how you want it to, and just make sure that you are being respectful of the wire, and then you'll have a couple of goes to get that right. Now that looks pretty good to me, so we'll cross that over the top. They look very similar at this stage. So we've got two lengths of wire that are coming up at opposite angles. One of these I want to grip very, very firmly and turn into an upright. So that's following that imaginary line from that middle bottom loop all the way up at the 12 o'clock position and continuing in a straight line. Flip the design over, hold the other wire, the opposite wire, like so, and then turn that over so it's pointing away to 3 o'clock. Now you can see that there's a little bit of a gap in between those two wires, and that is on purpose. This means that I can get the tip of my pliers in just at where that angle occurs, and then I'm going to push backwards and away from me. If I just flip that over, you can see that it's going in kind of that direction. It's 90 degrees. But because we gripped on the angle, you should be able to see that there's a little bit of a loop beginning to form. And we do this on purpose. I'm just going to grip that again and draw the wire now back on itself. And you've got a little loop forming rather than going straight up and back, and then it becomes quite difficult to twist around. So what I'm going to do now is to support both of these diagonal wires between the flat faces of my pliers. And it pays to get as close to the top as you can. And we're holding this firmly, but we're not putting any pressure on anywhere where the wires are actually crossing over. It's just beneath that. And I'm going to take the tail all the way around a couple of times, like so. And then at the back, I'm going to trim away, like so. Just going to grip hold of that so it doesn't ping off into infinity. And then we're going to take a second to get that to sit smoothly. Now if you want to, you can create just a simple loop at the top here, but what I'm going to do is just create a quick wrapped loop. I want this to return back to that 12 o'clock situation. I want that to be true to 12 o'clock. So I'm going to just put the pliers in now. I'll show you sideways, quite close to the tip of the pliers, but it's giving me enough room to just turn a right angle, come back in with those round nose pliers and make a very tiny sideways loop at the top. Bring that tail all the way around. Now at this stage what I tend to do is bring in a second pair of flat facing pliers. I think I've taken that just slightly too far, so I'm just going to adjust. There we go. Grip hold of that loop and make it very, very firm. Now, the way I'm holding this now is I'm just gripping onto the looped section, not anywhere where the wires cross over. And I'm going to take that tail, draw that down and around like so. And then we just push that and pull it around until that sits neatly into position. And you can draw those closer together, give them a bit of a squeeze. I think on this one I could have done with slightly more wire to get that a little bit more flush. And you will want to spend a little bit more time making sure that all of those loops are exactly as you want them to sit. But you get the basic idea. Now I will show you quickly how to add in some gemstone dangly sections on the bottom. So I've got some very, very long standard head pins with a ball point on the end. I've got some beautiful rainbow moonstone beads. Pop those all the way on. Pliers near the end, right angle bend, quite close to the tip, so not a huge amount of neck to work with. Flip that around, in with those round nose pliers. If you struggle with wrapped loops, we have a dedicated video for just that purpose. So do check back on the video history here on the channel. There are videos dedicated to the absolute basics, wire handling tips and techniques, what tools you might need, an introduction to gemstones, and there is a dedicated video for creating the perfect wrapped loop. There are rosary linking videos, all sorts. So back down to the board, I've created my loop and I'm just going to give that a very gentle squeeze to form that loop, not touching where the wire crosses over. Popping that through the loop at the bottom, pushing it into the position so that those are interlocking. This is very similar to your rosary linking, so again there is a video specifically for this. Grip hold of that loop, take the tail all the way around once, twice, third time looks good. So we're just going to cut the tail away. If there is a huge amount of wire from the tail of your head pin, you might like to reserve it to do some very fine, very tiny rosary linking. If there's not a huge amount, then pop it in your scrap pot. So that is how you would attach on your wrapped loop, like so. And this is what your project will end up looking like. So I've got some little loops ready made and I will finish those off in just a moment. What I want to do now is talk you through two alternatives using very, very similar techniques. The wrapped loop is the same at the top on one of them, and then we're going to add a coil on another one. So I'm just going to pop these down and bring in my first alternative. So this one has been made with beautiful sunstone rounds. I'm bringing that down to the board and I'm just going to talk you through the differences. First of all, obviously this is done in a different colour. This is 1mm gauge rose gold colour copper wire. Slightly longer piece of wire. And the basic technique begins the same at the base in the centre. Create those same loops. When you come to the top segment, one of your tails is just going to come down at the back. We're not going to trim it away. We're just going to create a floating loop that sits at the centre of the design. So you have got more dingle dangle going on there. And the other end of the wire, rather than being trimmed away at the back, forms a little loop that sits at the top of the design. Almost identical in its form to the piece we just saw from start to finish, just with a little bit of extension. Now another alternative is to create this in a round form. So to do this adequately, you can use any round form that you have that is a reasonably good size. You can use any number of loops that you like. When I'm creating chandelier earrings and pendants, because this will size up to be a beautiful pendant, I tend to go for an odd number of loops because aesthetically it's really nice to have a central dangly object on your design. So you could go for 5 or 7 or 3 as we did in the example. So a round section, I've got a little pot here. That's what I'm going to use, but you could obviously use a ring mandrel if you prefer. And all you would do is create those series of loops. So I'm just going to do 1 or 2 to get the basic idea. So there's our first one. I'm going to create a straight line going along that direction. So the wire creates the loop and then continues on its merry little way. So I'm just going to turn that and turn that and turn that until I get the distance that I'm looking for, and then I'm going to take the wire and straighten it out. So let's imagine that we've got all of the loops that we wanted. To create a little bit of an arc, just makes your life easier, I'm taking some flat facing pliers and starting to put an artificial arc in there. I will just grab the ring mandrel, which was very far away today. I'm just going to draw that all the way around. Imagine, if you will, that we've created all of the loops that we want to create. You've got your round form, and what you will want to do is find the point directly opposite your central bottom loop. Pop yourself a little right angle bend in at the top, like so that it is opposite your central bottom loop. Bring that back into true, and then again, our wire is passing up. It's not going directly across. It's not coming across in the direction of the 3 o'clock hand. It's going off at a bit of an angle, and we're going to start that loop coming around. Going to support the 2 wires that generate the top of that loop and bring that back into position if it gets a bit skew-if. Now you can continue all the way around to create a beautiful wrapped loop at the top. You can cut one of your ends and snuggle that away in the back of the design, and then the other one you can create a loop. Or if you wanted to, you could generate a central dangly section as we did in the other sunstone design. So those are some ideas for some home crafted chandelier earring findings. As I say, you can make these sized up for pendants, and the joy of them is that you use the wire stock that you've created your other pieces in. You get the most perfect match in colour. With the best will in the world, buying rose gold wire from one organisation and trying to match it with rose gold wire from even a different batch of coating, same company, your colours might not be as similar as you'd like them to be. In addition to that, if you buy rose gold plated materials, chandelier earrings that are ready made, they may have a different colour, appearance and feel to the wire that you're working with in your feature pieces. So I hope that that's been helpful. I hope you enjoy the tutorials that you're seeing here on the channel. Please do hit like and subscribe if you've not already done so. I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. And please do check out the Facebook page, Gemhawks and Gems Gembox. Every other Monday we have a Facebook Live, and I'm also going to be bringing you some ready-made sterling silver gem set jewellery over on a new eBay store. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for having me. See you soon. Bye.